Alex Shinsky here for the Anti-Hustlers Weekly Show. As always, thank you so much for joining us and giving us your time. I'm extremely grateful for it every single time that you do so. We do this show every single week, Thursday at 3 p.m. Eastern, live in our Facebook group. It is welcome to everyone in our community, clients, non-clients, prospects, former clients, friends, acquaintances, enemies.
Cats,
You're all
dogs.
welcome. We don't really have enemies. Dogs would be an interesting one. I'm down to do some
Want your
objection
dog to hop on Zoom and hang out? I'd love that.
We've heard all of those objections. I have to talk to my dog first before they make a decision. Today, we're going to be talking about pre-handling objections and post-handling objections, not just how to deal with them after they happen, but understanding how to deal with them before. This is going to be for salespeople, agency owners, coaches who are really ready to explode your sales conversion rates and understanding what it takes to be successful in the one call close framework. As a reminder, the goal is to actually sell. Now, the reason why we're talking about this today is because we constantly see salespeople, business owners, regardless of your experience level, you don't necessarily do the work that's required because you're afraid that you're coming off as too aggressive or too salesy. I want to show you methodologies of how to actually sell efficiently and overcome objections without the fear of being too aggressive or too salesy. Where most people ultimately in handling and pre-handling objections struggle with is that they read right off of a script and they're not reading the actual person, the prospect they're speaking to, or they're literally not handling the objection at all, either by disregarding it altogether, which obviously breaks trust, or just fully accepting it and just losing the sale altogether. And then most importantly, though, missing an opportunity to truly help someone. And that's the key piece that I want to remind you of today. As I'm going through this, what I'm coaching you on is how to truly help people, because that's what your offer is for. That's why you're here. That's the whole intent of this. So doing objection handling is a benefit to the prospect, not just to you. That's absolutely key, so you can understand this moving forward. And that's what I want to be able to provide for you today. Now, I just want to keep this in mind for everyone here. I just did corporate sales training with a very large agency here in the Tampa area. And I helped this company go from $1.8 million in revenue per month. Yes, it's a massive company, to $2.5 million in revenue in 90 days with the exact same lead volume and same exact sales team. Ultimately, what happened is that they didn't even know really that their main job is to sell. What they were doing was just talking about the products in general in this relationship-based sales approach, and then just fully accepting anyone's, I need to think about it, it's not the right time, I'm going to talk to another agency, etc. And then the main reason why they weren't selling is because they have this misconception that they didn't want to like rupture or ruin this really friendly relationship that they had built, which is asinine, and I'm going to help you overcome this today. The real friend, the real salesperson helps do what's best for the customer. And doing the right thing is by helping them understand that this decision is critical to their success moving forward. That if you believe working with you is the best decision for that prospect, you have to help them speed up and simplify their results by working with you, helping them make the decision based off of your belief that this is the right fit, helping them achieve the success that they want. And if you're not doing objection handling, if you're not pushing these people to work with you, it's because you don't either, one, really believe in your product, or two, you're afraid of something that's pretty unreasonable to be afraid of. You should be extremely confident with this, and you really need to understand that by doing objection handling, you're doing the best for you and for your prospects, okay? Now, how we're going to be doing this is pretty simple. Number one, you need to audit your past 5 calls or so to identify the most common objections that consistently are occurring. This is the first step I'm going to recommend to any of you watching right now live or on recording. If you don't know the objections you're consistently getting, if you want to pre-handle objections, you have to review your calls. Just identify from the last 5 or 10 calls that you've done, what are the most common objections you are receiving. Now, if you're on this call with me live in the Zoom room, just drop it in the chat. I would also ask, by the way, if you are in the Zoom room, if you can have your video on, that would be amazing. If you can't, no worries, all good. It's all love here either way, no problem. But I just want to keep this note for you of how to do this, okay? Step 1, audit 5 to 10 previous calls. Just go to the end of the call and identify the objections. Now, here's the thing about objections that I want to make sure everyone's clear on, all right? Anything that is not a yes and anything that is not a no is an objection. Anything that is a push off from a decision is an objection. No worries, Jolie. Hope you feel better. Anyone that says yes, obviously, is not an objection. Anyone that says no is not an objection. No is not an objection. I want to make sure this is clear. No is a decision. But here's the crazy thing. If all of you look back at your last 10 calls, the likelihood that you've had like even 2 no's is really low. Most people don't give no's. They give veiled no's as objections, which is like, I want to talk to my partner. I want to think about it. I need to consider this. I need to talk to God. I need to move money around. I need whatever the objection is. In their mind might be a real objection, or what they really don't know how to say is, man, I love Joshua. He's such a nice guy. I don't know how to say no to him. And so instead, I'm simply going to say any word objection that is a way to get him to not force me to make this decision on the call. And so part of objection handling is also allowing the prospect to say no. Getting someone to say no is infinitely better than having someone bold-faced lie to you because they're uncomfortable with saying no. And you have to remember, a lot of people are really uncomfortable with saying no. I'm sure that everyone on this call, me included, so I don't want to be like sitting on a high horse, has had sales conversations where you love the person you spoke to and you want the product, but it's either a little too expensive or there's some objection that you're not comfortable with in terms of moving forward. And so you give them some BS objection instead of saying no. You're like, Brett, I just got to talk to my wife. Like, let me get to my wife and we'll chat about it. Where, as I know, I'm just telling that to Brett. I'm like, there's no way that I'm actually talking to my wife. I just want to get off this call so I don't have to make this payment. And I don't want to say no to Brett because Brett's going to be like, but this. You have to give them the opportunity to actually say no. So 2 things. Number 1, audit your previous calls so we can identify the most common objections. If you are here with me live, drop the most common objections you deal with. I will handle every single one for you. There's not one objection that I don't know how to handle and deal with. I'll make sure that you're covered and supported. Okay. Number 2, identify what a yes is, what a no is, and what an objection is in your calls. This is also through actually auditing your calls, which makes a huge difference. At the end of this, I'll make you an offer to audit some of your calls if you want to. No pressure whatsoever at all. Now, once we identify the objections, we need to pre-handle them on our next call. Now, this is a counterintuitive approach because a lot of people will say, oh, I don't want to bring up an objection that they won't have. But the truth is, it's an incorrect mindset. If you don't bring to that objection to the service before they ask it to you, 2 things are going to happen. 1, they're either not going to tell you this objection, but they'll have it in their heart. Or two, they won't say the objection to you live, but they'll know that this is one of the obstacles that they have in working with you. The reality is, if you bring this up before they say it to you, it increases your knowledge of the industry. It increases your LKT, your like, know, and trust factor, and it makes them feel more confident and comfortable knowing that you know what you're talking about, because the only way you would know this objection is if you've had conversations with other people just like them. And this is really, really, really important. You really need to be comfortable with bringing up objections prior to them happening, especially when you know what they're going to be. And I'll show you how to do that here today. The model that I go through in objection handling, and this is my last spiel before we do some live objection handling, is 3 steps. It's pretty easy, okay? We acknowledge and appreciate. Too many people, when they're doing objection handling and I listen to audits, you don't even acknowledge it. You're like, okay, Bryson, so you're telling me that you want to talk to your wife, but this, and you're just like diving right into it. Instead of an acknowledgement of like, hey, I really appreciate that transparency. I'm grateful that you'd share that with me and be open enough to do so, and then handle the objection. That type of appreciation and acknowledgement makes a massive difference. Instead of it creating this format of combativeness, which is what a lot of people are afraid of in objection handling, what it does is creates an environment of, we're on the same team and page here. Your objection is valid. I hear you. I respect that. I'm not trying to overcome it. I'm trying to get to a reasoning and understanding of why you tell me that. This is a key piece of success in objection handling. Acknowledge or appreciation. Either one is fine. Understanding the objection, basically. Number 2 in this format is the pragmatic view. Like, you have to have a pragmatic view of objection handling. Decisions are mostly emotional based, right? So a lot of times they're making this decision based off how exciting the call was, how excited they are about the dream that you're selling them is, how emotionally scared they are, how emotionally worried they are, like those types of things. You have to have pragmatism also very clearly notated in your objection handling. My favorite pragmatism product or model is the 3 decision frame. This is a really easy framework to consider. And if anyone has any questions, just ask me in the chat. I saw your question, Joshua, and I'll help you. And anyone on the chat as well, let me know. If you guys are enjoying this so far, can you just drop a 7 so I know that this is landing and impacting, please? It will help me a lot. Here's how you do the pragmatic view in a 3 decision frame, okay? Option 1 is you work with us. and you either get the result or you get a risk reversal. We'll talk about that in a second. Option two, you decide not to work with us and you guarantee to stay exactly where you are or worse at the benefit of your competitors investing in other services. You move backwards. So you either stay in the same spot or you move backwards. Or option three is you stay undecided, which is by far the worst of the decisions. Because if you make no decision, you're of course guaranteeing to be at the same spot or move backwards. This is a pragmatic view. So when you explain this to a prospect, it becomes a no-brainer, particularly based off of your offer. If you have some sort of risk reversal that makes the offer a no-brainer, then there needs to be a pragmatic view of decision-making of, I've eliminated risk, or I've eliminated risk up to this amount that makes it a no-brainer, okay? This framework is a very strong pragmatic angle. Pragmatism essentially is logical thinking, not emotional thinking, right? And then the last bit, right? So again, acknowledge, appreciate, pragmatic view as these three options. And then lastly, the emotional view is understand the emotions behind it. Acknowledging the emotion, expressing the emotion, sharing that you felt this emotion before, identifying why they have this emotion, have they felt this emotion before, respecting the emotion. I'm a very emotional person. I respect it. I get it. I understand. So I'm going to use that as leverage to explain, like, I understand the emotions behind this. There's no pressure. There's no rush. There's no urgency. I want you to feel comfortable and excited. One of the common terms I use in my sales conversations, and many of the people on here are my clients and can speak to this. Rich is a perfect example because he just joined us like a couple of weeks ago on a frame just like this, which is true. It's not some sort of script or like tactic. This is true. When I tell someone I'm working with, like, hey, my win isn't getting paid, like, we're going to be excited about that. Don't get me wrong, like, obviously, but our win is getting the result. Like, this is not the end of our relationship. This is the beginning. This is the start of the great opportunity to work together and be successful together. Not, oh, we got paid, well, our job's done now, whatever, just deliver and move on. I use that framing in an emotional way to express a real fear that a lot of people have, which is, does the person on the other end really care about me, or they just want to sell the product? Which is a totally reasonable thing. So I use that constantly and commonly. So I shared a lot there, but I just want to recap really quickly. I'm not going to break down each of these things, just a few steps, okay? Audit your past few calls, probably 5 or so, and identify the most common objections that are consistently occurring. When we identify those objections, we're going to pre-handle them. I'm going to show you how to do that here in just a second. Then I want you to understand the 3-step process that I would go through for objection handling anything, okay? Acknowledge, appreciate, a pragmatic view behind it, and an emotional view behind it. The pragmatic view that I shared was the option of 1, you work with us to get the result or risk reversal. Option 2, you decide not to work with us and stay where you're at. Or option 3, you stay undecided, meaning you're not even making a decision either way, which is the worst of all decisions possible, okay? Does anyone have any questions on what I shared before we dive into objection handling? And Brian, if you want to add anything, please feel free to do so. I appreciate everyone. If you're live on the Facebook, please hit that like or love button. Helps us a ton. All right, I'm going to go through this and see what we got.
I do have some stuff to add. I'll wait and see if anyone else is going to throw questions in there.
There's a bunch of questions in here from objection handling that I'll go through in just a minute. So I'm going to let you, Brian, go first, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, you brought up earlier this idea of, allowing them to say no or being comfortable with that, right? Like, you guys need to be indifferent about the outcome. And if you're in a place where you need that money, it's a very dangerous place to be, because people feel that, right? And they feel that you are pushing them to make a decision that's in your best interest and not in theirs. But when you can really be detached from the outcome and make them feel that you are in this conversation to help them make the best decision, it typically can overcome the bullshit objections of, oh, I need to think about it, or where they're feeling uncertain or they're not making the decision. You being indifferent about the outcome is critical, because now you're having a conversation from the standpoint of, does it make sense for them? And if it doesn't, be willing to tell them that. I was on a sales call with Alex a couple months ago where we could have easily made an offer. They could have easily paid and afforded it, but it wasn't the right thing to do. We had to tell them, as much as you want to join this program, I don't think this is the right thing for you. Let me show you the better path forward and make a referral for you. And that is immensely valuable, because now you don't have to waste the time trying to fit round peg, square hole with this client. And 2, it creates an open door relationship with this person where they can refer you, they can connect you into your space. So I would say being indifferent about the outcome and truly telling someone when it's not a good fit for them is key. And having the conversation first to see if it is a good fit before you make an offer. So many of us will get on a sales call just because you have someone's time. I'm going to pitch them. I'm going to just pitch at them instead of see, if they actually need it first, and then you can go from there. That's number one. Number two, we're talking about pre-handling objections, right? How do we pre-handle objections? Alex is going to go through it. I think the biggest way is to create predictability around the objections you're going to get. How do you do that? Go serve a singular industry. If you aren't making $50,000 a month-ish in your agency right now, you probably shouldn't even be considering serving anyone other than ideally one space. Now, I just got off a call with someone who's actually on this call right now. Earlier, they are in a place where they do serve multiple industries because they have a large business. So we're having to create playbooks for these individual industries they serve for their team, because now it's not just one person, not you guys individually selling. What happens when you have a team of people calling, setting for you? You need to arm them with common objections that they're going to get in speaking to dentists, roofers, plumbers, etc. So just a couple of things, you guys, that's how you can handle them in advance, is actually pick a direction, pick an industry, so you don't have to relearn the wheel every time you're speaking to someone different.
Excellent insight. So a couple quick things here, and then we're going to dive into objection handling. One, our next POD event has been announced, May 18th, 19th, and 20th in Detroit. Bryson is coming out, which we're super stoked. Canadian Jose is going to be out there. I'm going to be there, by the way, in case you didn't. I feel like that was probably obvious, but in case you didn't know, this dude's going to be there. Would love to see you there. Would be awesome to have you. We can invite probably like 15, 20 guests. It will be at the Little Caesars Arena where the Detroit Pistons play. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Can't wait for it. If you want to join us, just drop event in the chat and we'll chat about it and tell you all the details. Quick other note, Brian was talking about like telling someone when they're not the right fit. Integrity in words is very easy. Integrity in action is an entirely different thing. I also want to make sure that I'm not ever sitting on a high horse in my coaching. I've for sure sold square pegs into round holes before. Absolutely. I've done that before. Once you do it one time, you really never want to do it again. If you care about other human beings, it's a very shitty feeling and a bad experience. You try to justify it by being like Superman or whatever, but you're not, you're just a human being. Focus on delivering the quality to the right people. Jaden jumped on here first. He was on the call first, and he was talking about how he just did a call with someone who wasn't qualified. They weren't the right fit for the product, even though maybe he could have sold them. Maybe he could have forced his hand, but it's not the right thing to do. And that's what really integrity in sales is all about. So just want to touch on that. I'm going to go through every single objection that you guys drop. I will not let one be withheld here. As I go through it, please feel free to ask any additional questions. You're not hurting my feelings. I'm here to support you and help you on this. Just ask me whatever you need clarity on, and I will support you on it and make sure that you're comfortable with it. All right, let's dive into it and get started. Jaden's is a great first one. I love this. You are the third company we have talked to, and we're talking to two more before we make a decision. Cool. This is such a common objection related to we have multiple decisions that we're considering to be made. Okay. Has anyone else heard this objection? Can you drop a 1 in the chat if you've heard the objection of I'm talking to other agencies? Okay, cool. Now, Jaden specifically noted third company. Jaden, is it okay if I make it more general of like we are talking to other companies? Is that cool? Okay. So the reason I mentioned this, by the way, is if it's that specific, then it's like a very specific answer. I don't want it to be that specific because it's unlikely you're going to get that exact specificity. It's like we're talking to other companies. Normally what I would ask in this scenario is like, hey, first of all, I really appreciate you letting me know that. I'm grateful for the transparency. Can I ask you like what number in line I am? And that's where I want to know, because that's really important. The reason why psychology tells us is that in lists, people remember the first and last thing. So if they're going to speak to 5 companies and you're number 3, automatically you're pretty much cut at the knees. You just really have no shot at closing if that happens in this scenario, right? So you're the third company and we have 2 more to make a decision. I would use this frame specifically for this one, and then I'll touch on like the generic one in 3, 2, 1. Hey, so if we're the third company that you've spoken to, I want to first start with this. What happened with the other 2 calls that didn't urge you enough or push you enough to make the decision? Like, what did you not see from those first 2 calls that didn't make you push for the decision? Yada, 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 they say. Likely their answer is going to be, oh, like we're just kind of dotting our I's and crossing our T's and getting clarity. And then I would use the urgency frame like this in 3, 2, 1. You mentioned to me earlier on this call, Michelle, that it was really important for you that before Q2, you're able to get started with this process to achieve X result. Is that correct? What I would implore you to consider is that if you have not already heard from myself or the previous 2 companies of exactly what you're hoping for to be achieved, adding 2 more companies to that list is only going to make the decision infinitely more challenging. Can I give you a quick pragmatic example to see if we're on the same page? Are you open to that? Perfect. Jaden, do this with me. Unmute yourself really quick. You're Michelle in this scenario, sorry. Okay, so Michelle, let me ask you a question. Do you want a Snickers? Yes or no?
I mean, I'm not really a Snickers fan,
Okay,
but
so no. How many options did I just give you? Just for clarity.
one,
Okay, but how many options did you get to choose from? Meaning, how many options could you have responded me to? How many responses could you have said?
two, yes or
Three.
no?
Yes, no, and also maybe could have been. Is that fair?
Oh, yeah,
Okay, now let me ask you, do you want a Snickers or do you want a Twix?
Twix.
How many options did I give you?
So that would have been four.
Okay, so I would go with 6, right? Because yes, I gave you 2 options of choice, but you have 6 options for decision. Yes, no, maybe on Snickers. Yes, no, maybe on Twix. We're not even talking about potential calculus of like comparing and contrasting. The reason I share this with you, Michelle, is because now what you have to consider is I'm the 3rd company you've spoken to. I've given you 1 offer on my call. It may be possible that the other companies gave you more than 1 offer. Is that feasible to say?
Yeah, that
Okay,
makes sense.
so now what we're looking at minimally is at least 3 options for choice or 3 options to choose from and potentially 9 decisions to make. Yes, no, maybe on each of them. You're going to add 2 more to that. Complexity in decision making is the real challenge. If you haven't had someone that's confident enough in sales to tell you, no doubt 100% this is the right fit for you, then I feel like I didn't do my job or service you appropriately. This is the reality. If I fast forward with you right now, 90 days into the future, working with us at Golden Arrow is by far the best investment you can make in this business. I believe that wholeheartedly with all conviction and truth and honesty behind it. Sincerely, I am more than happy to look at what the other 2 companies offer to you, and I will tell you unbiased if I believe that they're making a better offer, sincerely, and you have to trust on that. But the idea that you would speak to 2 additional companies and somehow remember over a 60-day span, 30-day span, everything that was compiled for you, even when there's probably a significant amount of overlap, is insane. It's going to make this decision infinitely more challenging. And I say this whether or not you work with me, even if you choose to work with company 5 or company 1, it is a mistake to do more. I'm open to your feelings and thoughts, but this is my true belief based off of this conversation. That is how I would handle this objection. This happens all the time. Now, they're probably not going to be moved off of their model. They're probably like, well, I committed to the call, so I'm going to do it anyways. And I would say this, if I was the last call, if you didn't have any other calls, would we be moving forward? Well, I'd still have to consider this, that, or the other. Okay, if that's the scenario, then I probably did not do a good enough job expressing myself, and I apologize for that. If I had a fast forward ability, you know that this is the best decision by far. Can I review what the other 2 companies offer to you so I can give you feedback on that? That would be the next thing. And then lastly, if they're like, we would probably be leaning towards you, I would get a deposit, which looks like this: 3, 2, 1. Hey, Michelle, I totally understand that you're going to have these other calls. You already mentioned to me that we're currently in the lead amongst these other 2 companies, but there's still 2 more to go. Completely respect that. Here's what I'd ask of you, okay? I know you want to work with me, but you have committed to the time for these other companies, and I completely respect that. Put down a $500 refundable deposit. Let's schedule our kickoff for 3 days after your last sales call, okay? On that call, you will have first right of refusal to say, hey, this is what they offered. Can you match it? Can you do this? And I will or I will not. And if I can't, I'll refund you. Or you'll say, hey, everything's great, we're ready to move forward, and you'll pay the rest. What this does is locks you into work with us. It showcases a commitment outside of verbal, and it will also help you make a decision because you know that if we were the ones that were the last person to speak to, we'd be working together. This will allow us to get ready and get started. So when you're ready to start on Wednesday, the blah, 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 we'll be able to press go. Is that fair to you? That would be the frame. Does anyone have any questions on this before we move on? All good, covered, comfortable, solid. Ones in the chat, solid, good. Cool.
Or I do have one quick question on
Yeah,
that.
go ahead.
If they weren't comfortable putting down a deposit, then that probably means there's another objection, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So what I would do if someone says, no, I'm not really comfortable with deposit. Hey, that's completely fine. It's no pressure whatsoever. Can I ask you what makes you uncomfortable? Getting to the root of it, right? Well, this, and then maybe they have another objection, or it's just like, well, I just don't want to like put down the money to make it feel like I'm making a decision because I'm not ready, blah, blah, and that's fine. The goal of objection handling, I want to remind everyone of this, and I'm glad you mentioned this, Jaden. sales and sales coaching and objection handling, there's no like magic abracadabra Harry Potter method to get paid, right? There's no there's no method. I wouldn't be sharing it. I like you guys a lot, but I wouldn't share that, right? It's not a thing. There's no such thing as that. You can't just magically get someone to give you their credit card. It's, did you check all the appropriate boxes? If I'm working with you in POD, which many of you are here, are clients, and I see that you've gone through all the check boxes and you didn't close still, I'm going to be really proud of you. Because it's about the actions, not the outcome. You don't control the outcome. You only control the actions. That's the only thing you can control in this sales portion. That's it. You can't control anything else, right? The next question here was Jolie. We are launching new events and I am in charge of selling sponsorships. How do I sell without the data? Without the data, meaning you don't have, this is the first sponsor that we're doing new events. Got it. Okay. I would sell the event sponsorship based off of the opportunity available. So the number of potential avatar clients at the event, and then a conservative estimate of 10% of those clients becoming opportunities and half of those opportunities becoming clients. So for example, if there's 100 people attending the event, let's say 10 of those become calls and 5 of those become clients. Their clients are each worth $2,000 a piece. That's going to be $10,000 of potential revenue on a conservative basis. Your offer for the sponsorship is $7,500. That's how I would do it. Hopefully that helps and makes sense. I have a lot of experience, by the way, selling sponsorships. We are looking for one more sponsor for Detroit. If anyone wants to throw us some monies, feel free. Okay, let's keep going. RE text to pay. The contractor wants to wait until the town switches to digital paperwork. Right now, they're using physical paper. How can I get them started now and not wait the town to switch to digital? Steve, this is amazing. So I've done, I don't know, probably 200 sessions or so of objection handling in my career. I've never had anyone ask me this, so this is cool. I think I don't have enough data on this, Steve, to answer the question. Switches to digital paperwork. Right now they use physical paper. Why?
Yeah,
why do
I mean,
we
the biggest question is, do they actually need it? Like, how critical is that to the process, or is this just a blanketed like what? Like,
right?
it's a weird,
Like, Steve,
weird one.
can't you just get paid by check? It doesn't have to be text to pay. Like, why? Like, if that's the objection, it seems to me like it's not even worth it, overcoming it. Like, oh, I want to pay you in a different way. It's like, it's similar. So what I'm trying to reference from this is this the same thing as saying, oh, sorry, Bryson, like I don't use PayPal. Oh, okay, fine. Pay me some other way. Like, I don't care. I'm not going to be like, no, we only use PayPal because of this. Like, I don't fucking care. Use whatever you want.
Right.
Is it?
Yeah.
Am I?
So basically, he's a contractor and a client. Well, and for years, people have been paying him by check, but now people are starting to use credit cards. So he's driving in his truck. Somebody calls, I want to pay you. Okay, I want to use a Visa. And he's trying to write down credit card numbers on a piece of paper while driving in a truck.
Seems a little dangerous, I would say.
Just a little bit.
That's crazy. Yeah. So you're asking me how you would handle that?
Well,
I mean,
so he likes the idea of texting to pay, but
yeah.
Ideally, he doesn't think that enough, because he's old school,
Yeah.
old school. He doesn't
Yeah.
think enough
Is
of
this
his
the only
customers will
offer,
use that
Steve?
right away.
So Steve, hold on one
What's that?
second. Is this the only offer for your SaaS product? Is that why?
No, it's just so he did some work for me. We started talking. He started complaining. So I started offering a solution.
No. But Steve, hold on. I want you to understand what I'm saying. Is your offer the text to pay solution using high level? Yes or no?
To him, yes.
Nothing else. You're not doing anything else for him.
Reminders, yearly reminders. It's a yearly service that people need.
Does the price change if he's using one feature or 2 features?
No.
Okay, so then just sell him the yearly reminders and then come back after he's happy with the reminders to focus on the text to pay. Like, I wouldn't even worry about this feature because it's not relevant. Like, it's such a stupid thing. Like, if this was the only feature and the only thing, then I would work it. Like, just for clarity, if it was, let's just say I would do this probably like, look, the reality is, Chris, if you were consistently going to go with physical paper and not turn the tides of 2023, like very bluntly, you need me to be able to feel comfortable to say this, like, this is not 1991 anymore, right? Like, Everyone has been digital. I don't care if the town isn't digital currently, it's going to happen. You will be on the cutting edge of that. And it's very simple and much safer for you. Right now, trying to do this while you're driving your truck or trying to get off, it's losing you money. You're probably writing some of the numbers incorrectly. This is an easy way to do it. It makes your clients be able to pay you faster and easier and simpler. It's just a no-brainer decision. If he still objects, no worries. Let's just do the reminders. That's what would be my thoughts. Does that help?
Sounds good. Thanks, buddy.
Cool. Of course. Yeah. It's so funny that you said that. Never had anyone say that to me. Okay. Canadian Jose, I don't want to pay a deposit and give my credit card over the phone. Right now isn't a good time. Call me back later. All right. I don't want to pay a deposit and give my credit card over the phone. 3, 2, 1. Hey, totally respect that. Understand that. Just for clarity, is it that you don't want to pay the deposit or you don't want to pay over the phone? Jose, you want to do this? You're more than welcome to if you want to unmute yourself.
No, yeah, it's a small deposit. It's not the deposit. It's just the commitment of them doing it, right? Like it's 25
No,
bucks.
Jose, role play it. Don't explain it.
Role play.
So I just said, Jose, I said, hey, I totally understand where you're coming from. I just want to get clarity. Is this that you don't want to pay the deposit or you don't want to give your credit card over the phone? Which one is it?
It's both. I don't want to give a deposit or give my credit card. You're calling me. I have no idea where the card's going. And also, if I'm going to get the service, why do I have to pay a deposit?
Sure, absolutely. So yeah, when you give us the card, normally I give it to my wife to go take a Macy's run. Obviously, I'm kidding, but that might be what their insinuation might be. The reality is, like, if you don't feel comfortable paying us over the phone, that is completely fine. No worries whatsoever. Now, I would just ask you, if I can be blunt, can I ask you a simple question, like more pragmatic question than emotional? Are you open to that?
Yeah, go ahead.
Cool. If you order a pizza from a restaurant and then the person says when you're ordering the takeout, they're like, okay, and your credit card number is, what do you say?
Yeah, I give it to them.
Okay, so what's the difference with me not offering you a pizza? Sorry that I don't have like great cheese and stuff, but same idea, no?
I mean, if the pizza guy screws me over, I could go to his shop and bring a cop. Like I have no idea where you are.
Sure. Well, if I was to screw you over, number one, I would never screw anyone over, but I understand where you're coming from in terms of trust. But number two, you have all the right in the world to call your credit card company and charge me back, right? There's nothing I could do to keep your money, right? That your card protects you from fraud. But I think more than anything, right, is like, if you are under the impression based off of the call that we've had that I would do anything with your card other than service you, maybe it's not the right fit to work together in the first place, which is totally okay. But like, man, I'm a man of my word. Like, I'm a father, like I'm just running a small business. I'm not trying to hurt anyone. I'm just trying to help, sincerely.
Yeah, no, I get that. But I mean, if I'm going to spend what, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 on your services, why even take a $25 deposit? It doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, I don't know why you would offer a $25 deposit, Jose. But anyways, if it was a $500 deposit, the reason that you would put the deposit down is
25 is for like it's for like the dentist guys, right? So we have clients of ours that are dental. So it's basically so they'll show up to the appointment, right?
Okay, so on that one specifically, I'll use that in 3, 2, 1. The reason why we have a deposit for Dr. Chavez is because what we found consistently is without a deposit and only verbal confirmation, a lot of people are emboldened to no-show. So what we do is we use this as a deposit to any investment that you end up making with Dr. Chavez. And if you cancel, you get your deposit back. But if you no-show, we keep that for Dr. Chavez's lost time. That's why we do this. It's pretty common overall in the space. That's what I would do.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that makes sense.
Right now,
I know Jose is coming from a place of his call team calling or picking up calls from inbound leads and calling leads. So they're like not really earning as much trust there on the phone as you would through a whole sales conversation.
100%.
Yeah, so I could see how, them not wanting to give that card. Now, what are your feelings on then just having, say, a checkout page where they could go do it themselves? Like, hey, if you don't trust me to give you your card.
Yeah, exactly. So in the similar vein of Steve with this text to pay, it's like, hey, if you don't feel comfortable with paying it over the phone, like I have a link I can send you. I just thought it would be easier. That's all. Same exact.
And that link, essentially, you can explain to them, secure checkout tool. I don't see the credit card number. It runs through their system. Then they control all of that stuff. So that's another way to they feel uncomfortable literally letting you write down the number.
I will always make that Macy's joke every single time because it's an insinuation that you would do something like that. And then when you have boldly expressed that, they're like, Oh, that's such a dumb thing to say, because of course I would never do that, right? Like, it's a outrageous comment, but I get why some people do that. So I think that's key. Okay, Joshua Brummel said,
Can I ask you a quick question? Sorry,
Yeah,
Alex,
of
is that
course.
okay?
Yeah,
To
please.
Brian's
Yeah.
point, then Brian, do I stay on the phone with them while they're filling it out? Because the
Yeah,
truth
I
is,
just literally
if I
dropped it in the
don't,
comments. I said, yes, stay with them on the phone while they
1000%.
fill it out. 100%.
100%. Hey, so what I'll do is I'll stay with you on the call right now while you fill this out in case you have any questions for me. And then as soon as that's done, let's schedule our next meeting. That's how I do it. Oh, I got to run. Hey, no worries. If you got to run, you can pay it on your time. That's, again, you check the box. Do we know if they actually have to run or not? Who knows? There's nothing you can do about it. There's nothing you can do about it. You're checking the boxes. That's the key. It's not like again, there's no magic here. It's just you check the boxes. Okay, Brummel. Is it Brummel by the? It's Brummel, right? We went through this. It's not Brummel, right? It's Brummel.
Brummel, yeah.
Okay, cool. Okay, I'm good. What's the best way to pre-handle the I need to think about it objection? What's the best way to prepare a window shopper to make a decision on the call when they didn't know an offer would be made coming into it? They didn't know an offer was made coming into it. Okay, so let me teach you first the first frame of every single call that you should be doing, which is the time and result frame. You work with, what's the word? Like mental health counselors and therapists, right?
Yep.
3, 2, 1. Hey, Dr. Ricardo, really appreciate your time today. Grateful for it. On the call, we'll chat probably like 30 to 45 minutes. I just want to learn a little bit more about your practice and what you're trying to accomplish here, potentially working with Therapy Flow. The goal of the call is to give you the best insight I possibly can to help you achieve your goals, understanding your obstacles, and also seeing if there's a fit for us to work together. For transparency's sake, if I can give you advice today, I absolutely will. And if I also believe there's a great fit to work together in Therapy Flow, I'd be more than happy to make you an offer. Are you comfortable with that? That is pre-handling any objection related to, I didn't know an offer was coming in. By the way, Josh, for real, like real talk, just you and I right now. If anyone ever tells you that they didn't know an offer is coming on the call, you are framing your calls very badly. And also you're probably speaking to a lot of really stupid people, which I know you're not speaking to stupid people. So it's probably that you're just not framing the call at the front end like I just did. That's just the frame how it needs to be. I'm here to give you advice. I'm here to help. And I'm here to see if we can work together to achieve that result, to go faster, right? Really important. That is the best way to handle that. I need to think about it. I would do one other, just so you know. In the framing of your pitch deck, you want to have like a slide that's like problems and solutions. So one of the common problems for every marketing business is going to be like lack of predictability, consistency, and opportunity, right? And so the solution is you create predictability and consistency through working with our blah, blah, blah method, right? Whatever that method is. You have like a method name. I forgot what it was off the top of my head, but in general, right? And then that is where you can then say this, 3, 2, 1. You know what I see really often, Christina, is a lot of people right here when they see this, they struggle with it because they know they want consistency and predictability, but they have a really hard time making the investment or decision to work with a company. And I commend you for being on this call with me today because it showcases someone that is committed to making that decision. There's no pressure on my end, whether you make a decision today or not. It just showcases for you that you want that predictability, you want that consistency. But I want you to know this, right? That only will happen if you decide to make a decision. Whether working with me or not is irrelevant, but making the decision to get the help you need. Just as much as when you're talking to a potential client of yours or patient of yours, the only way that they can get the help that they want is by making the decision, not having indecision. And that's a really key piece here. And they will hear that and understand that. And it will make them a lot harder to say, I need to think about it later. Sounds good?
Thanks.
Of course. Does anyone have any additional questions on that, or can I keep going? If you guys are liking this, can you just drop a thumbs up or something in the chat so I know? If you hate it, you could just tell me I'm a piece of crap and then I'll cry about it. No big deal. It's all good. Crying is cool. I like crying. Marianne, realtor objection. I don't have a marketing budget until I close. I can only pay you after I close a deal. Sell a house or their buyer buys a home. Realtors are the worst. Okay. I hate realtors, honestly. I really do. Although my realtor was great, but realtor marketing is just terrible. So yeah, here's the thing. Normally what I would do in this scenario is I would explain like handling their business as an objection. So I'm going to show you how I did this incorrectly before, Marianne, to benefit you all really quick, okay? So my agency is PI attorneys. When I was younger, I went to a PI attorney one time and I made him an offer and he went through the spiel. He was like, I love it. I love the audacity. I love your panache, blah, 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 blah. I want to work with you, but I'm not going to pay you until you get the result. Once you get the result, I'll pay you double what you asked and I'll sign a 12-month contract, which was a cool offer. But I read right before that, never split the difference, like 2 days before. And I was like, no, standing my ground. Hardcore. And then I told him what was ultimately extremely stupid, which was, hey, let me just make sure I understand this. If I came in as a potential client and I got into a car accident and I came in to hire you to become my attorney to represent me, but I said, I'm only going to pay you if you win. Like, what would you say to that? He said, oh, that's exactly how we do business. So I looked very stupid. In the same vein, Marianne, you can't use that with a realtor because, you know, you don't pay realtors until you close, right? So they do a lot of free work, right? A realtor does a lot of free work for the person until the close is. So you can't really leverage that. What you can do is leverage the opposite effect, right? Hey, I totally respect the idea that you can't pay or have a marketing budget until you have a close. The reality is, though, you're not going to find an effective marketing company that's going to operate in the same way a real estate company does. Of course, in real estate, it's very common that if you were to get a buyer and that's going to actually buy a home, you're not going to get paid until the contracts are signed, which could be 3 or 6 months after initial engagement, right? And that's fairly common, right? That just doesn't work in the marketing business, ultimately because there is advertising investment that needs to be paid and time to my team that needs to be paid. There may be other companies that provide this resource where you can pay them only ad spend up front and then pay them a commission on the back end. But one, they might have to be licensed as a realtor, which is different per state, and everything like that can kind of become a little more messy. And then also too, considering that they're willing to actually put a lot of time in without any guarantee on the back end. I just cannot do that. It's not how I operate my business. And ultimately, it's going to be really hard for you to find someone. Have you found anyone yet? The answer is going to be no. How many other agencies have you spoken to that have made this offer, and have you said the same thing to? And they're going to say a lot. And then that point at Marianne is at this point, it's like, you're trying to find an agency that will deliver in the same way that a realtor works, and it's just not going to happen. It's not. And I will happily follow up with you in 6 months to see if that happens, but I am certain that you will not find someone like that. This is the right fit for you and the right investment. If you don't have a marketing budget, it needs to be created. It's necessary. Otherwise, you will not be able to grow and get the results that you want, whether that's through some sort of, line of credit or a business credit card or a loan or whatever it may be. You need this. It's required. That's the framing that I would use. Not a great, by the way, it's not a good objection to have. When you get that, it's hard to overcome that, but it's good framing to understand how to use it. You'll convince probably like 20%, maybe.
I would say try and get to that earlier on the call to understand what their capacity to invest in their business. If you brought them an offer that made sense closer to the beginning of the call, so you don't go 60 minutes only to find out, oh, I actually can't pay you until I get paid. Like, you need to have that insight sooner on the call.
Absolutely. I like that. And by the way, pre-handling, thank you for bringing that up. Pre-handling, Marianne, I would leverage that too. Like, pre-handle that in your sales sheet that this is not how you operate. I think that's great. Okay, quick note here, because we're coming up on 3:45. I got you guys covered. I'm going to handle every single objection, so please don't stress. I just want to say this to you now if you're live with us. And first of all, again, I really appreciate your time. If you're an agency owner, a coach, or a sales pro that really resonates with pre-handling sales objections and you want to get higher close rates, you're looking for proven strategies, techniques, custom mentorship to really accelerate your sales goals, to hit 7 figures, to build your business more effectively, to implement the one call close method, and ultimately finally put yourself in a position to predictably scale, please feel free to use our help to help you. We'll help you show you how to delegate a proven sales process, free up your time without the fear of the business. This ultimately is for you. I am looking for 5 of you on this call that are looking for help for a free 30-minute sales audit. What we're going to do is an audit on your pitch deck so you can increase your close rate, an audit on your offer so we can increase profitability and chances of closing. We're going to do a role play 1-to-1 with the 3 most challenging objections to you. You're not going to magically get better at sales by just listening to me. You actually have to role play it consistently. And then at the end, if you're wanting ongoing support, we can talk about that, even if we can help. And if that sounds good, just drop your phone number. We'll shoot you over a text message and help you. The only qualifications is you just need to have sold this product at least 5 times. You have an average of 5 to 10 sales calls per month, and you have a really high willingness to learn and implement and take action on it. Just enter your phone number in the chat on Facebook or here on Zoom. We'll reach out to you and we can, help you. I got, I think, like probably 2 spots available for this week, and then we'll see what we have available next week, just as a quick note for y'all. Okay. All right, let's continue. Mike Mickey's was, what's the best way to handle marketing vendors? We already went through this. Would you consider sending a pre-call video for pre-handling objections? 1000% yes. Pre-call video is a demo of your product and some of the most common concerns people have. So what you want to have is a slide that says common concerns and handling them. Very good question. What else do we have? Blah, blah, blah. We're still gathering information and we'll get a feel for who we want to work with. Rich, I kind of went through this at the beginning with the with the vendors. Is there something specific you want me to clarify on that? I'm more than happy to.
No, that's good. Thank you.
All right, cool. Got you. See what else we have. If there is any. Client gave a verbal, went cold before committing to a local SEO package. We're going through a rebrand right now, and we want to make sure this is done first. Classic. Okay, so the idea of we want this, but need to do this first. Super common. I know they need keyword work done now to get ready for the summer sales season. They run Italianized trucks. Cool. Okay, so this is how I would handle this. So 3, 2, 1. Hey, I really appreciate you letting me know this. First of all, if this isn't, I'm guessing this is not on a call, but it needs to be on a call. If you get this via text, you got to call them. That's what it has to be. Sending this via message back is just not effective, but I would call and be like, hey, I got your text related to the rebrand. First of all, good for you on rebranding. And I totally understand where you're coming from on wanting this done first before we do any keyword research or any SEO work. Can I just potentially give you an alternative opinion so you can consider another option outside of what you're already doing right now? Would you be open to that? Perfect. Okay. Here's the insight that you really need to hear. The reality is a lot of people like to tinker with their business. They like to change their logos or their names or their copy, or they want to change some like branding on their website. And I understand that it does matter and it does make a difference. But in terms of needle moving activities, branding and SEO, it's not even close. The reality is right now, we are 3 months away from your high season, right? That's going to be the summer, where the competition is going to be the highest for every type of Italian ice truck available, every type of dessert truck available, all the mini donuts, all the ice cream and custard, all the pies, all the crepes, and of course, you guys, the Italian ice. Everyone that is a competitor to you locally is likely right now getting prepared and ready to invest into these strategies. And oftentimes they hit with these common objections. Well, I want to do this thing first because my peak month isn't for 3 months from now. If you take advantage right now to start, you will have a better peak than you've ever had before. I say this with so much confidence and belief in this product. You really need to consider what I'm saying. It is the right fit for you. These things are not mutually exclusive. You can still do the rebrand while I'm doing the SEO. It's the right fit for you, and you should do this seriously. That's the frame. Does that help?
Very much. Thank you.
Of course. Is there any other objections? Did I cover all of them? The one
Threw a
objection
couple in there that we
right
got
now,
off Facebook.
my guy. Number one objection I'm facing right now is, can you do this for free for the Can you do this for free for the first few months? Fuck no. What are you talking about? You crazy? Okay, it's probably inappropriate to say that. I don't think I would probably recommend that, but my God, man, what is wrong with people? Like, such an insane thing. All right, let's take it in not the aggressive way, because I might actually do that on a call if someone did that with me. Like, if an attorney did that, I'd be like, are you out of your fucking mind? What are you talking about? Let's talk about a few things that's not outrageous. Number one, if you're brand new at this, maybe that's a reasonable objection. If you have a lot of experience, then you would say, no, I absolutely cannot do this for free, of course, for the first few months. Hold on one second. Okay. No, I definitely can't do this for free for the first few months, ultimately because we are only able to work with a certain number of clients, and it's a requirement to pay us for the product, right? It's the same vein as your business, right? If I was to come to your business and say, hey, can you do this for free for the first couple of months? What would you say? No, right? So it's not logical in terms of where we're at. We have enough proof and value in our business to showcase that, hey, like we have done enough work to clearly showcase that we are experts in what we do. This is a worthwhile investment to make. I need a little bit more context on this. So whoever wrote this down in the Facebook group or whatever, just come on the live or message me privately. That's an insane objection without any context, right? Like it's similar, Marianne, like if you wrote that, can you do this for free for the first few months, but without realtor context, like it makes no sense. But with the realtor context, there's a little bit more sense, still makes no sense. But in general, you know, it helps. What is your guarantee? It's not an objection, that's a question, right? So guarantee stuff, does anyone, if you want me to share some thoughts on guarantees, do you want to just drop a 1 in the chat if you want me to share that? Anyone want me to share my thoughts on guarantees? Just drop a 1. Okay, cool, got you. What an absolutely insane objection to say, can you use for free? Man, that made me want to like vomit a little bit. Okay, guarantees really quick. I'm going to keep this super simple and really fast for you. Okay. There's 3 levels of guarantees in my opinion. All guarantees are about risk reversal, right? Risk reversal or risk mitigation, which means you are helping the prospect make a decision that's best for them by eliminating risk or minimizing risk. It's really hard to eliminate risk in marketing. Doing a money back guarantee is not super efficient. So I'll show you the spectrum of how this works. You have to look at me to get this. Okay. On one side is no risk mitigation, meaning you have no guarantee. When you have no guarantee, likely you already have some sort of just like ridiculous amount of proof that that is essentially the risk mitigation. Like in POD, we've helped hundreds of agencies hit 6 figures and 7 figures, hundreds of agencies hit 6 figures or 7 figures of profit. And so the idea that we would have some sort of guarantee would be asinine because the proof of our results is the guarantee inherently in terms of risk mitigation. Okay. So if you have no guarantee, that's no risk mitigation. On the other end is the strongest risk mitigation, which is you take all the risk as the provider, the vendor, you assume all the risk and the consumer takes no risk at all. That would be money back guarantee, which is I guarantee to get this result within this time frame or I give you your money back. Okay. The middle of the road is a satisfaction guarantee, which is I guarantee to hit this result within this time frame or I'll work for free up to this amount of time to hit this result. My strong opinion is satisfaction guarantee is the best for people that are kind of in the middle of the pack or wants to fight against the absolute ridiculous offers that we're seeing since Hormozi's book came out. Like some of these offers are fucking insane. Like if we don't get this result, we're going to pay you a $10,000 check, blah, blah, blah. It's insane. A lot of bait and switch going on in the industry right now. So you don't have to do that. Just keep that in mind. If you're doing the money back guarantee, just logical, pragmatic framework on this to help you. Number 1, if you're doing a money back guarantee, you're not actually helping the prospect. They gave you the money because they want the result. They don't want the money back. They want the result. That's why they gave you the money. Okay. That's why. So that's why the satisfaction guarantee makes the most sense, in my opinion, where basically you're guaranteeing to get a result. I'm going to make this up. We guarantee to get you 30 patient opportunities in 90 days, or we will work at no additional cost up to an additional month as long as you pay the ad spend till we get that 90. Now, the way you do a satisfaction guarantee and combine and work it is you take all the data you have and give them a very conservative estimate and use it as a very strong sales pitch. So let's use the approach I just shared. 30 appointments, 90 days. If you've gone through in the last 10 clients you've had, and all of them have had 50 appointments in 90 days, and you sell 30 appointments as your satisfaction guarantee, you give yourself a lot of wiggle room to ensure that you don't have to invoke the guarantee. So you can then say this, 3, 2, 1. Hey, Brett, just so you know, the reason we have this guarantee is to have some sort of risk mitigation because I get asked all the time about guarantees. Side note, that's how you pre-handle an objection. So back to it. We do this to help you with risk mitigation and showcase that we put our money where our mouth is. Now, when we say 30, that is not something that we're hip hooray on, right? But I'll give you just a little bit of reference, Brett, okay? Brett, if I gave you $1, okay, and if you put $1 into an ATM machine, excuse me, and you got a $2 back out, how much money would you put into the ATM machine? Unlimited amount, right? Let me ask you, if you put $1 into an ATM machine and you got $1.50 back consistently, how much would you put in? An unlimited amount. Okay. Well, here's the thing. I showed you a client that we have that put $1 in and got $10 back out. I'm not going to put myself in a position to say you're automatically going to get $1 in, $10 out. What we've put as our guarantee is $1 in, essentially $2 out, right? Which is great, makes money. That's what we're guaranteeing to you when we give you 30 patient opportunities. But we're constantly seeing our clients get 40, 50, or 70 patient opportunities, but we're just guaranteeing you at least that. We're not going to be like over the moon. If you have 90 days, you just got 30, right? We want you to have long-term success and have significantly more revenue to make. That's the guarantee transparency framework. Hope that helps. Okay. We got 4 minutes and I got a couple more to do. So I'm going to run through these. Another marketing company offered me something similar for a lot lower price. Okay, 3, 2, 1. Hey, I totally respect that and understand where you're coming from. And I'm grateful that you share that with me. There's 2 things I'll say to this. Number one, I obviously don't know what this company offered to you, but I don't know if we're comparing apples and oranges, right? Sometimes when people bring this up to me, what I hear really is, hey, this burger from McDonald's is $1.50 and this 5-star Michelin restaurant burger is $27. Why would I pay for the 5-star Michelin burger? I think expectations have to be reasonable. Now, obviously, I'm not suggesting that we're a 5-star Michelin restaurant, although I'd like to have enough ego to say that. I don't know if that's totally fair. And I'm also probably not going to throw someone else under the bus and say that they're McDonald's level marketing quality, but I really don't know. Here's what I can say without a shadow of a doubt. If someone truly offered the same quality, same result that I am offering, same exact frameworks at a lower price, you should take that. And I need to go back and do my work. Now, the thing is, I don't know what they offered. I'm more than happy to look at any proposal they sent over or insight and tell you what I think is a good fit for you. But it's my duty as a salesperson not to close you. It's to get you to make the right decision for what's best for your business. And if that's the scenario, maybe that's the case. Now, I feel like I would know that considering I've been in the industry for quite some time and I haven't had anyone bring this up to me, but it's feasible. It's possible. I would say probably unlikely. The last question I would ask you would be this. If you got a great offer from a previous company, why did you not move forward with them? And that's the key right there. That piece right there is the key. And they're going to tell you why, and then you get to fight that objection. Who was that question? That was Brian. Okay, we don't know who it was, but hopefully it helped. Hey, Brian, can you grab these phone numbers, please, and pull them off before we close today? Thank you. Okay, Bryson, I already have your number, so you're good. Okay, thanks, Alex and Brian. No problem. Gonna hang up and call them now. Good. I want to talk to my spouse or partner. Yeah, I'm kind of shocked that no one said this until like the end of the call. Cool. I think we're gonna wrap with this one. Let's roll. I want to talk to my spouse or partner before deciding or committing. 3, 2, 1. Hey, Ryan, I completely respect that. I myself have a wife, or I myself have a partner as well, and I want to make decisions with them too. So I completely respect where you're coming from. I just want to get clarity on something, okay? If this was your decision, not neglecting them whatsoever, their opinion absolutely matters. But if this was your decision, you were the one making the call today, would we be moving forward together or not? Pause. Now, this is key. Seeing their reaction on Zoom is really important. Sometimes you get one of these faces, like, look at me, guys. They're like, why the fuck did you ask that question in a face? One of those, right? And what you're saying right after that, you just got to kind of follow up with it. By the way, the reason I'm asking that is because if you say anything other than, oh, absolutely, 100%, we'd be working together. Well, how is your partner or wife going to convince you if they weren't on this call? It's impossible. And then you could work that objection a little bit more until they're at the place of saying, yeah, absolutely 100% we'd be working together. Say they say, no, for sure we'd be working together. I just want to confer with my wife first. Respect that completely. Let me ask you something you probably don't expect. What happens if your wife says no? What would you do? Now, the reason we do this is because the way the human brain works is you believe your partner, business or life, is going to confirm your decision. Pretty much always. That's how people operate. So in the mind of the prospect saying this objection, truly not bullshitting you, really saying the objection and meaning it, like I really want to talk to my wife, their mind is playing a game where it would be like, I had this great call with Alex. He was awesome. I want to work with POD. Wife, do you agree? Wife says, absolutely. They come back and pay. That's how their brain works. But there is a very possible scenario that the wife says, no, what about this thing? You didn't think about that. What do we do? And now you put them in a position of forcing him to answer that. And what are they going to say? They might say, oh, that's actually such a good point. Look, if they said no, I'd still probably go with it. Okay, totally respect that. Completely. Why don't we do this? Let's put down a $500 refundable deposit. So you can go back to your wife and say, hey, I made a financial commitment to make this investment, but it's refunded in case of a break glass, in case of an emergency. So if you don't like this, or you want to talk to Alex first, that's totally fine. But then that way you can see and tell her and explain to her how confident you are in this, and we can hold your spot in line. Are you comfortable with that? Most of the time they'll say yes. That is how you do objection handling, my friends. I hope you really enjoyed this. I have 3 spots available this week for some sales audits with y'all. If you want to accelerate your process, I'm here for you. If you're a client, I got you any day. Just message me in Slack. I love you guys. Appreciate you all so much. Would love to see you in Detroit. If you want to come out May 18th, 19th, and 20th, would be really cool to have you there. Everyone have an amazing rest of your day. Be blessed. Stay blessed. I'll see you next week, Thursday, March, whatever day it is, 8th, 7th, 9th, 3 o'clock. Peace.